The summer movie season is right around the corner, and this movie kicks it off with an absolute bang. I didn't know jack shit about Formula One going into this film, and I gotta tell you, I might get into it, because this movie is so much fun. Like and subscribe and hit that notification bell, and if you're new, check out the rest of the channel and let me know what you think. Let's dive into F1, the movie. I'm not a racing guy. I watched NASCAR as a kid, kind of fell off once I was in middle school, and never went back. Don't know anything about F1. I have some friends that are into it. Just really not my thing. But I was excited for this film. It stars two of my favorite actors, Brad Pitt and Javier Bardem. It's directed by Top Gun Maverick's Joseph Kosinski, who did an incredible job with that film, and I loved Maverick. I think it was better than the original. And it's a sports drama. Love sports dramas for the most part, as long as they kind of keep you on your toes. So when this movie was announced and the cast was announced, and then we got that first trailer and I saw the stunning visuals in that teaser, I knew that this movie was going to be at least visually interesting. And what we got is a fantastic throwback classic summer blockbuster. It's simple, it's sleek, it's fun, it's funny, and that's all it needs to be. This is the type of movie that people go to the theater for. It is a joyride. Basic premise of this movie, which you could probably figure out from the trailer, Brad Pitt is this grizzled old racing vet who had a chance to be the Michael Jordan, essentially, of Formula One. He was this young prodigy on the come-up, kind of had an edge to him, and pretty much career-ending wreck just dissuaded that whole notion. So the next 30-odd-some years he spends kind of bouncing around from different races and different types of racing avenues, NASCAR, rally racing, all kinds of stuff. And he just he's a nomad. He travels in his van, doesn't have much to his name, and he finds races across the country and across the world that he wants to just hop in and drive in. Javier Bardem is his old racing buddy from his, former Formula One days, who coaxes him back into driving for his F1 team that is on the brink of being sold because it is an utter disaster. And he's hoping that Pitt's character can come in and mentor his young prodigy that's in the first car and essentially garner some wins for this team so Bardem can keep his stake. And from there, this movie really just kicks off. I mean, the chemistry between all the cast members is incredible, especially Brad Pitt and Javier Bardem and Brad Pitt and Damson Idris. All the scenes that those guys share together in pairs are fantastic. They bounce off each other so well. They're throwing shade and insults at each other, having a good time. It's great. This movie's very straightforward and very simple, but that's the best part about it. I mean, this is a sports drama. It's an inspirational, fun, visually striking sports drama. You can kind of guess the whole story going into it, but there are some twists and turns that I really appreciated from Kosinski and the writers on this. There are some things that happen that you don't expect. There are a couple instances where this movie zigs when you think it's going to zag. And just for example, the finale of this film, in a manner that I didn't expect. We spend the duration of this film with Brad Pitt's Sonny trying to mentor Damson Idris's character to becoming a more serious racer. He's kind of this, just naive kid who's just got a loud mouth, and he's just all over social media, reading into his critics, listening to his critics, and he just is kind of into this for the money and the fame and the fortune. Pitt's character isn't. I mean, it's very clear from the onset, Sonny doesn't race for money or awards. He races because it's the only time that he truly feels alive. You know, he races for the passion of it. And he's trying to pass that knowledge on to Damson Idris's character so he can become more experienced. His character's name's Joshua. So it was fleeing my brain for a moment. And in the finale, you think that, all this knowledge and experience has got passed on to Joshua, and he's going to win this thing with Sonny's help. And in the final race, in the final moments, Sonny blocks the leader and lets Joshua take the lead to win the race, and then he ends up crashing, which I did not see coming. And so Sonny ultimately wins the race, winning his first F1 championship, the kind of the goal he was always chasing, even though he doesn't really care about that kind of thing. But it is this moment where he's just like, damn, I finally did it. Like, I was supposed to be this, and I'm finally this. And I was kind of shocked by that. And it is cool because Joshua's character even congratulates him. He's not upset that, like, they both learned how to work as a team and treat this sport as a team sport. And even their mechanics and their engineers and everything, they all do this together. And it's inspiring. And then even in the end, Sonny, you think maybe he has like this change of reality, this change of heart where he's like, okay, maybe for once I kind of set out to do everything I wanted to do. Maybe I'll settle down and live a normal life. And nope, he doesn't. He hops right back in his van, heads to Mexico to find some, sand rally race or whatever. And it's cool because he's always just chasing that racing high. He says at one moment in this film, there's a very fleeting, rare moment when he's racing where it feels like he's flying and that nobody can touch him, and he's just constantly chasing that. And it's cool. It's one of those things that I love about sports dramas where they kind of dig into the psychology of like these pro insane athletes that are just, they put all their heart and soul into this craft, and sometimes what they get in return is tragedy, and sometimes if you strive for it hard enough, what you get in return is just the highest of highs. So I really appreciated this movie. Kind of did some things that I didn't expect, because I think the one big criticism of sports dramas and inspirational sports movies is they all do kind of feel the same sometimes. I mean, it just starts off with your characters, and then there's a tragedy that happens. The characters overcome this tragedy or this hardship or this adversity, and they win the title. But they definitely threw in enough twists in this movie, I think, to kind of keep you entertained and keep you on your toes to not foresee what was coming next. I think the writing in this movie is sharp. It's very funny. I didn't expect that part. Especially the dynamics between characters and the dialogue between characters. It's very snappy and quippy and funny. The performances are all great across the board. I mean, like I said, the chemistry in the cast is impeccable. And the visuals, I knew going into this, Joseph Kosinski directed Top Gun Maverick, which was visually just probably the best movie that year. Visually one of the best movies of probably the past 20 years. And this movie is the exact same. I mean, you can tell they did a lot of grounded, real camera work on these F1 cars, because it looks fantastic. The racing scenes, the cockpits of these cars, it looks amazing. I mean, none of it looks fake. And even the opening scene, Brad Pitt in the opening scene, Sonny is racing in the 24 Hours of Daytona, which is an endurance race. And there's this scene where he's taking over the leaderboard at nighttime, and there's fireworks going off. Fireworks, the shells from the fireworks are dropping out of the track, dinging the cars, and it looks incredible. It's probably my favorite scene in this movie. But I think if you want a fun summer blockbuster that's just simple, you can go in and just have a great time. F1 kicks this season off with a bang. And I gotta say, it's one of my favorite movies of the year so far. And who knows? Maybe I'll become an F1 fan. We'll just have to wait and see.